George Chimbo, so thinking me was on him, Holland Chimbo, Abjada, Bagardan, Gonzando, Yermado, Tumba, Tuji, Jala, Kishan, sir. Good morning. Ah, happiness at work. So today I will try to give you some methods, some ideas about what happiness is and how to what is the definition of happiness. Actually, it's kind of difficult. What happiness is? What is the definition of happiness? So when we're talking about happiness at work. So we're talking about happiness, right? So when we're talking about the definition of happiness, I'm sure we have different ideas and different definition of happiness. But I will try my best, and if you will find something that helpful from today's teaching for your happiness at work, please keep it in mind, and you should make lots of notes, so then you will remember it when you need it. Otherwise, lots of teachings today, so if you don't make notes, then you will forget. So maybe some techniques and methods will help you. Maybe not, but I will try my best. So the bottom line is we all want to have a meaningful life, no question. So when we think of it, there are lots of ideas about how to have a meaningful life. Because some people say that the meaning of life is to be found only in spiritual practice. But some people say the meaning of life is to be found not only in spiritual practice, but it is also to be found in the human dignity that comes from dealing with either individual situations, family situations, all these kind of, societal situations, all these situations successfully. If you are able to find success in these situations, then I think most people believe that is your happiness. But, some people think that real happiness is when you have a great spiritual practice And when you have a sort of peaceful mind and freedom from all kinds of suffering, some people believe that is the real happiness. Some people think that there is no need for a spiritual path, because if you have a great job, then you are a successful person, because your happiness comes from having a great family, a lot of money, good health, fame, freedom from all kinds of suffering. When you have these sort of, what do you call it, this kind of situation, then you have real happiness. And then that means your life brings you a lot of pleasure. Then you feel that you are a special person and you have more sort of power than others do. So you feel that you have happiness, right? But some people think that is not correct, because freedom from all kinds of suffering is impossible. So if you say that is the definition of your happiness, then there is no true happiness, because freedom from all this kind of suffering is impossible. So then if that is your definition of your happiness, then there is no happiness. Some people say that. So people think different ways about happiness. I heard many people say different views. They have different views, different definitions of happiness. So what do you think? What is real happiness? Because we all are looking for happiness, but do we really know what is real happiness? Usually, we want permanent happiness. We want permanent sort of relationships, and we want to be happy forever, permanently. So when we say here today, like when we say happiness at work, first we need to identify the correct definition of happiness. There are lots of books about happiness, like Westerner books. And many people say there's no happiness. Now they say, I read a lots of books and they say, this is not Buddhist point of view. But many people, these good readers, they say, oh, we investigate. But there is no real happiness. I'm sure there's temporary, like pleasure and happiness. You have good family, lots of money, all the people say you have this kind of situation, then that's your happiness. But they say, no, that's not real happiness. So many people really don't believe these days there's happiness, real, like everlasting happiness doesn't exist at all. A Buddhist point of view, a little bit different, right? So, genuine happiness is quite difficult to find from Buddhist point of view. From, genuine happiness, you can't find it's difficult to find from material things, Material things like bring us as I said, like temporary happiness, for sure, no question, right? But it doesn't bring genuine happiness, the real happiness, because the teachers say that if your happiness relies on these sort of material things, then your happiness is a very poor quality of happiness, because your happiness always, this kind of happiness is always not enough, because it doesn't truly satisfy, this kind of happiness, satisfy you and free you from all your desires. One time Buddha said in his sutra, freedom is happiness. He said, freedom is happiness. Or what does that mean? Being controlled by others is suffering. So genuine freedom is happiness of the mind. So that happiness can only come from practice, training the mind and attitudes. Okay, now this is what I think the definition of happiness is. When we're thinking about happiness and talking about happiness, there are two happiness. Relative happiness. Relative happiness is the practice of satisfaction. I mean, that's what I think. And then there is ultimate happiness. Ultimate happiness is a deep understanding of the nature of human quality, which is something that is never separate from us. Buddhism, they said it is the universal happiness, and it is the true nature, ultimate. That is ultimate happiness. I will tell you this. Maybe it makes you confused, but in the ultimate point of view, and for someone who has realized that view, the ultimate, that's they call the ultimate happiness, because there is no right and no wrong. Because usually, we think that right is positive, wrong is kind of negative, right? But from the ultimate perspective, a positive quality such as love, compassion, doesn't make things better. And negative quality such as anger, attachment, all of that doesn't make things worse, because it is beyond right and wrong. But that's just nature. That's what it is. The ultimate point of view, the happiness. But usually people like us, we can't accept that reality within this ordinary mind, on an ordinary sort of experience and dualistic mind. We can't accept that. Some people say there's no right, there's no wrong. There positive things doesn't make things better, and negative doesn't make worse. And people say you're crazy. No, we can't believe that, right? We don't have that. Means we don't have that capacity right now, because sometimes we are happy, sometimes not. We are sad, and we are like this, up and down. Because we don't know when happiness and suffering will arise. Therefore, we sort of need to ready to accept whatever situation arises. Means like as a practitioners, this is very important to understand. Otherwise, we don't know the happiness and sufferings that when they will arise. So we have to sort of ready for that situation, and it will be really good for us be tolerant when these sort of unpredictable kinds of circumstances come out. And since we cannot accept the ultimate reality at this point, we have to rely on the relative happiness, relative realities. So I think it is very important to practice satisfaction. And to me, it is relative happiness. I don't know, what do you think? What do you think? What is relative happiness? Like, I just said, all this kind of situation, you have good family, you have lots of money, we have everything. You think that's your relative happiness? I don't know. Me, not. To me, relative happiness is to practice satisfaction. If you are satisfied with what you have, then from my experience, makes me happy. So, relative happiness, my definition of happiness, relative happiness is practice satisfaction. If we develop our qualities, then maybe one day there will be a chance for us to be able to accept everything and make our mind totally free. Then we can liberate ourselves and do so many things to benefit others. So the Dharma practice can bring happiness into our minds and into our lives. The Dharma is not really like material things. Dharma can help completely eliminate your sort of mental sufferings. So if you practice the teachings, then you can discover what is right and what is wrong. So now work and your relationship with work are based on your state of mind and how you relate it to others. And when we talk about this, happiness at work, one thing is mindfulness. Mindfulness practice is very important for this. Because we all have this present moment. So if you desire to teach yourself a better way to manage fear, anxiety, and other problems, then the lesson must begin with what is happening in the present moment, this moment, and through your meditation. So you learn to establish and maintain attention on the present moment. Now, I think this is how you usually feel about your work situation. You feel a separation between spiritual life and working life. And if you are a Dharma practitioner and you have a little bit the renunciation mind, then you also feel like you are wasting your precious life by working instead of practicing. So in order to change those feelings, I think it is important to do three things. First, you should try to correct your motivation at the beginning of your day, especially before your work. Very important. Second, you should try to practice mindfulness throughout your work day. These three, and then the third is you should try to dedicate all your work at the end. These are kind of summary. These three things very important, because if you do these three things, then you feel better, and you are not wasting time every day, even though you feel a separation between spiritual life and working life. But then that if you have this kind of three things, then it's not true. If you do these three things, then you're not wasting your time. I mean, have you done that? I always say these things, right? Not only today, but always say, some people say, okay, I'm going to work, so I don't have to correct my motivation. This is not my spiritual practice, when teachers, say that, right? Teachers, we have like teaching or meditation, then of course you always hear that, oh, correct your motivation, focus on your concentration and dedication, all that. So you think these three things are like only you're going to use, like this is for methods, your practice, so that you can develop your practice. That's not true. These three things, not only your spiritual practice, but all the time, even though like worldly life, if you have these three things, then it's actually not worldly life. It's actually you are mixing spiritual and your daily life. So these three very important. You all go to work and every day. So have you done these things before you go to work? Correct your motivation, and then when during the work you are sort of try to. I'm not saying you have to, but try to remember your mindfulness, and then when you're done, before you come back home, at the end, dedicate. So the ultimate goal in mindfulness practice is not just a relaxation, right? People think, like when you practice mindfulness, or that essence of your practice, mindfulness just makes you relax. It is true, but that's not the goal. Not the essence, the real, essence of practice. Mindfulness, not just relaxation. It is about paying attention with sort of sensitivity, Even like one breath taken like mindfully can really change your relationship to the contentments of your work experience in this moment. That's why mindfulness Very important. Therefore, you should try to remember mindfulness during your daily activities. Practice, breathe in and out. We all do that all the time. And with what is happening and with the sort of experience of your mind sort of directly, then it would not matter how much work activity you do, as long as you try to mix your practice with your working activities. You can do all of your working things, right? I will tell you more these things. And if you do this, then your working capacity will grow for sure. And you will be able to more easily accomplish all your working activities. And at the same time, these activities will become even more beneficial than before. That's what teachers say. That's the Indian masters, the Mahasiddhis. They always say that they have looks like they had this worldly life, this Mahasiddhis, but they never lose their practice, even though seems they're like just an ordinary person, but their mind is always there, and practice mindfulness, all of that. So they said if you do this, then your working capacity will grow. So you have to go to work every day, almost every day, or 5 days a week, whatever, and you are busy, and after work you are very tired. Means like you have no energy for practice. Sometimes you do have energy, but then you have to do things like your personal activities, your family, family's activities, etc. So you are not able to practice a lot, right? Because you're busy with these things. So that's why I think most people feel that there's a big gap between your practice and your life. Because okay, this is my worldly life, this is my spiritual life. So then you feel like okay, and especially sometimes you practice these four thoughts, right? Precious human life, impermanence of life, these things. This practice brings you, if we have enough to practice, then they brings you like this renunciation mind. Okay, I'm really wasting my time because I'm not practicing. I'm not practice. Like I go to work every day, so I'm really wasting my time. So then you feel this different separation. So that's not good. So if you if you try to mix your practice with your work, then, as I said, your working capacity will grow, and then you feel much better. You feel like you're doing also like meaningful, like this, a practice, and then also you are working. So you feel really good. So then slowly through working, if you have these methods, then it will change your mind, and then you think you're doing something good for everybody, not for only for yourself, but good for everybody, you know. So this is, I think, very important topic, actually. Happiness at work means like beneficial, right? Actually, you can say that at work, because almost, you think about this, almost half of your life is spent at work, maybe more than half your life, right? So if you don't have good sort of motivation, no mindfulness, no dedication, all of that, then you really waste time. Like more than half of your life you spend at work. So don't think that your work is wasting time. And don't think sort of this samsaric work is negative, because it depends how you do, right? Because your work can be a wonderful means, for you to express your deepest sort of aspirations, and can be a source of great sort of peace and joy, happiness and generosity. All of that come from your work. Conversely, the work you do and the way you do it can also cause a lot of suffering problem. Work itself, you can tell negative or positive. It depends, right? How you do it. Through your work, you can do so many good things, and you can bring, and it's a source of this great love and joy, and what do you call it, peace, and all of this happiness. So I think you need sort of really good balance, because only work without practice, only work without practice cannot give you happiness. People think work gives you happiness. That's why you're working. But only working without practice, I don't think, give you happiness. If you are, because if you are continually attached to your job, then the problem is your desire increase, right? And that's what teachers always say. The more desire expands, the more it cannot be satisfied, and the more obstacles will be created. Without only work without practice, not good. However, only practice in dharma cannot bring you happiness at this moment. It will be very difficult, very difficult. And eventually, it's possible that the challenges you encounter will cause you give up your practice. Only practice dharma. Like, we are not like Milarepa, and we are not like Longchenpa. That was like long time ago. We need different sort of renunciation and different way to practice in this 21st century, for sure. some people think, oh, I can do like that. Milarepa did, and Buddha Shakyamuni himself, and Nyingma, in the Nyingma lineage, we have this, like Longchenpa. Many years he has only like one bag. Nighttime he just used that bag, and during the day he used the bag for as a clothes. We cannot do that this time. So without work, only practice dharma. We cannot do that. Cannot bring you happiness. I don't think so. So at this time, practicing without work is kind of outside of our capacity. You know. So I think we need a good balance, and try to mix, and bring your mindfulness into your work, and your mindfulness and this satisfaction bring into your life, and and if you try to bring your awareness to every moment, and if you try to practice mindfulness in everything you do, your work can help you realize your sort of ideal of living in harmony with others. We know it is not easy to find a good job, but your well-being depends not just on having a source of income, but on having a job in which you can cultivate joy and happiness. A job which is not harmful to human, to animals, etc. So no matter what job is your job, there is a lot of you can do to help others if you really want to help, and create a happy work sort of environment, a place where you can work in joy and harmony, without stress and unhappiness. Sometimes you have stress or anxiety at work, and you don't know how to let go of that, or you do know how to let go of that, but you still can't let go of it, or you don't know how to deal with uncertainty as well. So I think your experience of anxiety and stress is directly related to your thoughts, your emotions, and your perceptions you have in that moment. So this is another thing. How can you make a perfect relationship between this life and happiness at work? How can you let go of your stress and problems? Again, I think only the solution is just the practice mindfulness. I think you can learn to handle your stress and anxiety by sort of bringing this relaxation into your life and keeping yourself in the present moment. Mindfulness practice establishes attention to the present moment, right? And this practice gives you the best ability to concentrate your mind. This practice helps you to find the best connection with yourself and your work. If you don't have this practice, then you will have, that means distractions, right? If you have no mindful practice, mindfulness, if you don't practice mindfulness, then that means you have full of distractions. And then you will not have peace, and you will feel that you are wasting your precious life. But it's not easy. But every day you have to sort of think about practice mindfulness. Of course, you know this, right? When we talk about mindfulness, you don't have to sort of stop whatever you do, at your work, and then you go you go somewhere and sit and then practice. You don't have to do that. Mindfulness, like whatever, like right now I'm talking and be mindful, I'm talking, whatever, like if you go to work and you're working with your computer, just make sure that you are there, mindfulness is like, this is kind of sim means mind. Mindfulness, sim tambanyur, means like you should know what you're doing, what is happening this moment. That's, if you know that, then that means you have this practice, always, like we have distractions, emotions, and all of that. When you know how to take care of your strong emotions, and and to establish a good relationship at work, communication improves, stress is reduced, and your work become much more pleasant. That's why. So I think this is a great benefit, not only for yourself, but also for those you work with. So practicing mindfulness is learn to relax and have attention on the present moment. If you don't feel the relationship between work and yourself, then the situation becomes full of stress. So usually, like when we're talking about mindfulness, your awareness already there. And because awareness in our work is very important too, right? The more you feel the situation, the more you feel yourself. Or I'm doing this, or I'm talking with this person, and then you will sort of really know that what is right, what is wrong. then you will begin to feel that there is a connection between work and yourself, between, you will begin to sort of develop the actual feeling of the things with which you are working. So you begin to have a sort of real relationship with your job. And that means, the beauty, When you see that, you will enjoy it. And you will enjoy it. That means like you will appreciate it. So in this section, again, when you go to work, 3 things, okay? Don't forget that. And then we're going to meditate for 15 minutes. So 3 things, right? Sometimes you forget because there are lots of distractions, right? Especially like you are very, you have lots of stress. Then you forget do these things like correct your motivation. And then during the day, be mindful, try to practice mindfulness, and then dedication. So then the benefits of practice these 3 things, then you are not feel that, there is a separation between your working life and your spiritual life. The great teachers, whatever they do, whatever they say, everything is their spiritual practice. We're not there yet, right? But we can sort of, we can do both, half and half, right? So mindfulness is very important, very, very important for your work situation. It depends, this practice. Mindfulness, of course, they said the foundation, sort of your other practice too, like a spiritual point of view. But I don't think that only, mindfulness only needs when you practice or meditate, only like spiritual part. No, I think like mindfulness is like the best food, that we all the time, 24 hours, we need mindfulness. Then we know what is going on. Means like really, this is the way you reduce your distractions. Okay, 15 minutes practice, okay? Practice is very, very important. So this time we're talking about mindfulness at work, right? So usually teachers say that breathe in, aware of your body, and focus on that, this present moment, and breathe out, aware of your mind. So we have a mind, we have a body. As you follow the breath, what you begin to see is your body's and your mind's there's like this constant movement. And sometimes in order to see that the present moment, you need a practice like breathe in, pause a little bit, breathe in, right? Breathe whatever, breathe in, pause a little bit, breathe out and pause a little bit. Sometimes you don't need to pause, just to breathe in, breathe out, focus on your body, your feeling, your mind. But sometimes it's a little bit difficult to do that. Then breathe in, pause a little bit. This gives you sort of, like the space. And then you really feel it, the present moment. So sometimes you don't need this kind of space, you just gently breathe in and breathe out. So during your meditation, of course, usually we have like different feelings, different thoughts, all this kind of, yang in Tibet, yang means distractions. All this, whenever we meditate, we have all these things, But the key point is, the key thing is to recognize, very important, recognize your thoughts, your feeling. When you meditate and you hear the sounds, for example, oh, there is a sound. So you just recognize that means like, then don't follow. Always don't listen sort of the sounds, because then, it take away your concentration. So just recognize and then bring your mind back. Means like you recognize the distractions, but don't keep anything in your mind. Do you understand? Otherwise, like for example, right now, like you meditate like this, everything is very peaceful, right? But then you hear the sounds here. So if you follow and if you think all the time, that really gives you very uncomfortable, and then you cannot focus on your practice. Always your mind goes there. So that's why teachers say when you have this kind of distractions, just recognize, but then don't keep anything in your mind. Means like try to let go everything like that, right? For example, when you have stress, and then you recognize that this is like the one like your emotion, right? Emotion. So that's one sort of part of your mind. Our mind means like you have feeling, emotions, thoughts, perception. All these things we call mind. So when you have like anxiety and stress, that's your emotion. But you recognize and then don't keep in your mind. Means like try not to follow these distractions, okay? We usually like for especially beginners, we have lots of thoughts. But when you have lots of thoughts, when you meditate and you will notice that you have lots of thoughts, this is how you control your thoughts. You recognize when your thoughts arise and then try to don't keep Don't keep in your mind. Leave it as it is. So you don't follow your thoughts when they arise. So this is how you practice with your thoughts, right? This is a practice, how you develop your mindfulness. Means like the thoughts and feelings, like it's just coming and going, right? Coming and going. So if you don't follow then these thoughts, then eventually the duration of your meditation is longer and longer and longer. That means you have less thoughts, less, and you really can stay on this moment. So if this meditation is not something new, right, for you, but you have done this many times. But the thing is, we have to do this so many times because our mind is not stable, even though you know how to do it. That's why teachers always say, you have to practice. Practice means like you know something, you know how to practice. But then our mind is, if you don't practice, then doesn't matter. It doesn't help you. So how to make your mind stay calm, and how to control either good thoughts, negative thoughts, whatever, how to control our thoughts, and just that's the benefit, that's the goal of meditation. So now I'm talking too much. So okay, now 5 minutes or 10 minutes meditate, okay? Just breathe in, breathe out. You don't have to do anything. If you want to visualize something, then you can focus on that, but usually like focus on your breath. And if you want to pause between breathe in and out, you can do that. Sometimes it helps you, control your thoughts. Okay.